Okay, it's the audience members. 2 and 3. Okay, let's get started. Investments. What do you guys think about when you think of investments? What comes to mind besides some of the things listed or even these things right here? What do you think about when you think about investing?
Money.
Money?
Stocks.
Stocks?
401k.
401k? Do we think of homes as investments?
Yes. Most definitely.
We usually, when we get a home, we want a nice home. We hope that it's going to return something to us in the future down the road, not cost us a bunch of money later on initially. Cars. Some of us think cars are investments. I think you're fairly into cars.
Yes.
Would you put the crappiest oil you can find in your car?
No.
No, because you want it to run smoothly for as long as you can, get the most out of it. We don't typically think about investing in things as money pits. But what else comes to mind with investing? Does anybody think about their health? When it comes to investing, when you hear the word investment, do you think about your health?
Not really.
No. But do you think your health is important?
Yes.
So everyone agrees it's important, but it's not something that comes to mind in the forefront of investing.
Right.
But if I told you that you did invest in your health, that it's almost be 100% guaranteed returns and almost immediately, would you? That would sound good for any other investment, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most likely. Okay. Your health is an investment, not an expense. Although it will become an expense if you don't take the time to invest in it. So that's going to be a key thing throughout the remainder of this. So today, I'm going to introduce myself first. I'm James Glass. Most of you know me, but if anybody else watches this video, James Glass, part of the speech class, and today I'm going to talk to you about investing in your health and why it's important to start now, or you're going to pay for it later on down the road. Health and nutrition and fitness has been a huge part of my life ever since I can remember, from being younger. When you had presidential physical fitness tests in school, I was obsessed with maxing out the points. Always wanted to eat healthy. A lot of these things will touch home for me. I've had family members as well as friends' family members be affected by some of the things I'll talk about, unfortunately, but a lot of it could have been prevented had they invested in their health earlier on and not allowed it to get out of hand later to where there wasn't anything that they could do about it. So next I want to talk to you more or less about the benefits of living a healthy lifestyle and why you should do it, some of the things you'll see early on from doing it, and then talk about some of the negative effects of not doing so. Which leads me to pros and cons and benefits. So a lot of the benefits of being healthier, living a healthy lifestyle, exercise, proper nutrition, you'll be stronger, you'll be leaner, you'll get better sleep, so then you'll have more energy, which will cause you to be more productive in just about anything you do, mentally and physically. You also reduce risk of disease exponentially, which is a huge factor. You improve your longevity and you improve your quality of life, and everybody wants a better life to enjoy the things that they do. Some of the cons, any reverse of anything I just mentioned, but if you're not exercising, doing anything, muscular atrophy, become weaker, your joints will degenerate, your bones will degenerate, you won't lack of mobility, cardiovascular health declines, which then become a lot of problems from that, and you are at much higher risk of disease. The higher risk of disease is unbelievable if you're not leading a healthier lifestyle and paying attention to your nutrition. And some of the current state of affairs that we're in the United States right now, 68.8% of adults are overweight or obese. Now, there are many problems that stem from this, which happen to be the next one. 610,000 plus people die annually of heart disease. That's 1 in 3, and heart disease is the #1 cause of death in the United States over cancer and things like that most people might associate with a high rate of death. 29.1 million people are diabetic. 86 million, 1 in 3 adults show symptoms of being pre-diabetic. I believe I read on the CDC website that there's about 1.7 million new cases a year of new diabetics that's happening at a rapid rate. Also, individuals that are diabetic have a 50% higher mortality rate than those without it. So if that number right there isn't startling enough to persuade you to start thinking a little bit more about your nutrition and becoming more active, I'm not sure there's too many things that will persuade you, such as declining health and possible death, almost half the chance of a normal human being. This also brings me back to that your health is an investment that can turn into an expense. One way I can relate it with the Air Force and our PT test, there's an abdominal circumference portion to that test, and we all know about it, we've all seen it. A lot of people get upset about it because we all know big guys who can run really fast, but their abdominal circumference causes them to fail. But where the Air Force is looking with this is that it's been statistically proven that the more adipose tissue you have, also known as fat in your abdominal circumference, puts you at a much higher risk of diseases later on, such as becoming diabetic, heart disease, high blood pressure, cholesterol, things of that nature. Now, they're looking at you as an investment, and they don't want you to become an expense. So what's an easy way? Okay, so you might be able to run fast, maybe you can do your push-ups, but when they look at your abdominal circumference, they see a precursor to much larger and more serious conditions down the road that they're ultimately going to have to pay out of pocket, and then you become an expense to them, not an investment. And the question would really be, is that their problem for you to become an expense and continue to pay for you because you chose not to invest in your health early on by simply changing up your nutrition or being more active? It's also been proven that people who are obese, overweight, or with these diseases, healthcare costs for them increase far more than a healthy individual. If you had your own civilian plans and health insurance and things like that, they're going to look at your weight, your body mass index, these things, and ultimately kind of charge you a higher cost for your insurance because it costs more to take care of you. I think the CDC website said something along the lines of people with these ailments it ends up costing them roughly $2,000 more a month or per procedure and things if you happen to be overweight, obese, or a number of these diseases already. But there is good news to it. And the good news is that all those things listed are some of the main causes of death in the United States, but they also top the list as the most preventable diseases in the United States. And across the board, one of the main factors that you'll find with being diabetic, heart disease, clogged arteries, cholesterol, high blood pressure, every single one of them is going to recommend a more nutritious diet and exercise regularly. If you do these things, your chances of preventing these diseases later on in life increase exponentially across the board, and it's something that's in your control that typically isn't going to cost you anything but a little bit of time. But investing a little bit of time now is going to save you big time in the future with longevity, particularly longer life, because it has been statistically shown that people who exercise daily and watch their nutrition do live longer, as opposed to we do see those rare genetic anomalies of people who can eat bacon and smoke and drink sodas all their life and they live to be 100. Well, we're not all those people. So I would say even if you are predisposed to it, or you think, oh, my family gets it, I'll just forget about it, because I'm going to get it anyway, that's not a good logic to have. Why would you not want to do everything you can to slow that process down in the future? So what is the key to it all? What's the key investment strategy? What's the secret to it? And the secret is really simple. Invest in things like this and not that. Make better food choices. That's not to say eat salad and chicken breasts and rice every day of your life, every meal, because who wants to do that? We would all hate it. You'd be miserable, and you wouldn't keep it up very long. But making healthier food choices, more often than not, and making these things more of a treat or a luxury will pay huge dividends in the future just by making small, simple changes, taking baby steps to do that. I could go super in depth with diet and nutrition, and that goes down a whole other trail that would take a whole other 20 minutes to talk about it, if not longer. But just make better food choices daily. Start out small until it becomes part of your lifestyle. Next, invest your time in getting out and being active and exercising and moving, just doing something. Don't invest most of your time hanging out like this little guy, because it's not going to do anything in the future but hurt you. There's plenty of time to relax and kick back but at least spend a few minutes a day on your health, on the biggest investment that you have, period. And that's not to say go be a bodybuilder or a triathlete or CrossFit guru or anything like that. Just get out and move. Your body was meant to move. It wasn't meant to sit in chairs all day. And when we do that, our risk of disease, death, longevity, everything decreases. So to conclude, I have a quote from Jack LaLanne. He lived a very long time. He's probably one of the best examples of living a fit life his entire life. How do you build your bank account? Put something in it every day. Your health account is no different. What I do today, I'm learning tomorrow. If I put inferior foods in my body today, it's going to be inferior tomorrow. It's that simple. And that holds true to anything. What you do today is going to pan out into the future and will dictate your quality of life. It will dictate expenses later in life. It will dictate how much you get to enjoy things. Because if your body fails on you, you can't enjoy hobbies, you can't enjoy cars, you probably can't even enjoy your own house. And on top of that, it's something we can't buy is time. And I'm sure we all like a little more time with our families and loved ones and to do the things we enjoy doing. And just by doing these simple things, you can do that. If you are somebody who eats fairly healthy but you don't really exercise, I would recommend adding a little bit of that in there. If you do exercise, you're one of those people that say, oh, well, I just exercise to eat whatever I want. Well, I would urge you to think about that a bit, because sure, you might balance out as far as vanity goes here and there, but really, you know, do you want to look good for 5 years and then die at 40, or look pretty good for the remainder of your life and hopefully die at 100? Who knows? So I would just urge you and hopefully persuaded you to take into account getting on top of your health each day, just a little bit, small steps, healthier food choices, and getting exercise so you don't become a statistic of people in this country that's rapidly growing. If you guys have any questions about anything, please feel free to ask. I'd be happy to answer. Yes.
What advice would you give people who are already born with a diseases such like diabetes or heart disease or metabolic inhibition, for people who can't actively go out and work out the way somebody who was born healthy would be able to?
Well, I would say it's a very small percentage of people who are actually born with them, but there are people who are going to contract these things no matter what. There's just going to be those people. However, I would recommend exactly the same thing in here, and I would imagine that you would find most medical professionals and doctors are also going to recommend, basically in the forefront would be nutrition, period. You have to get your nutrition right. You have to eat the proper things. The food that's right for you, that fuels your body. You know, sometimes people that are diabetic, they can't eat certain things, or they need certain things during the day, because a lot of that has to do with insulin response. So you'd want to get that advice from a medical professional, but I would almost guarantee that they're going to say, first off, get your nutrition on point. If you're somebody who can't get out and be as active as a normal person, you know, we see that time and time again in shows like Biggest Loser or different people who allow themselves to get to a point where, and they end up getting these things. It's just baby steps. It's a little bit of movement each day. Like I said, you don't have to be a triathlete, you don't have to be a bodybuilder, but just simply walking has been shown to improve and have major health benefits just by going out for a small walk. If somebody can only walk 5 minutes a day, walk 5 minutes a day, and then set a new goal in small increments to keep going. But the biggest things are going to be, nutrition is number one, it's king. Exercise to me comes in behind that. And then of course, certain medical conditions you're going to want to ask your doctor about certain things to do. But I'd recommend just set a goal, set an achievable goal, take small steps, and start off that way so that you'll be consistent. Because most people will start out, they try to go too hard, too fast, or crash diet into I'm only going to eat broccoli and chicken every day instead of phasing into it. And 9 times out of 10 they stop pretty quickly. So I would say just be consistent, take small baby steps in nutrition and exercise. Questions? No more? Okay. Thanks for being here. Thanks for letting me take your time. I appreciate it. Thank you everyone else. That concludes the speech. I feel like it was long.